Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to another episode of the Fighters Rep podcast. Today I'm very excited to be joined by a professional fighter who I think is on his way to becoming a professional coach. He's a gym owner. He's doing all kinds of stuff. It's none other than Marcos, Murder Marks Bonilla. Marcos, how are you, man?
I'm good, my brother. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm so glad to have you on the show, man. Yeah, man. We've been working together recently a lot more. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to have you in the Lions Den as a fighter, but a lot of the kids you're training that are coming up in the fight game, I've been able to work with them, and I found that very exciting, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's exciting to just be involved, even even as a coach, as kind of outside of the lines, then looking in, so to speak. It's exciting, man. It's always a fun time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I kind of want to introduce you to the masses a bit more. I haven't really, even myself, I haven't really had a chance to really sit down and dig in with you. Kind of tell me, where this all started, what your background is. I mean, who is Marcos Bonilla in a nutshell?
Um, how this all started, man. We have to go back a few chapters for that, but
We
I mean,
got time, brother. We
you
got
know,
time.
I mean, I'm still on the journey. I'm not quite done. But I mean, it started. I can't even, man. I gotta go back into the archives and think about when I actually started. But early 20s, mid 20s, kind of just college wasn't really working for me. I think I was on like my third attempt of school, college,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was already doing jujitsu, and I just really felt like I wasn't doing much, man. Like I wasn't, I mean, I was working, I was living that life, just kind of partying, always having people over our apartment. My brother and I used to have an apartment together. So it was just a lot of that. And I was just kind of like, dude, like growing up, I was always involved in something, whether it was, playing soccer, baseball, playing music, playing in a band or whatever. I mean, there was always something that I was working towards. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
aspiring to do something great, so to speak. And there was that I was in that little rut, man, in my early 20s where I just wasn't doing anything, and started doing jujitsu. Fell in love with it. Went through the motions of falling out of love with it. Fell in love with more with like the striking side of it,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Muay Thai and boxing. And one thing led to another. One amateur. I mean, for me, it was just like, hey, I'm gonna try this out.
Yeah.
I believe that every man at one point should be in a fist fight. I mean, I was already in plenty of fist fights growing up, but I wanted to try it. I really wanted to, test myself. And one amateur fight became two, and then three, and ultimately, I believe it was like nine or ten. And I never thought that I'd become a professional fighter. As a kid, I always wanted to be a professional soccer player or baseball player, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
would have told me I'd be putting on, 4-ounce gloves for a living. I'd call you a liar.
That's all. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing to watch you do your thing, man. And you're the
yeah,
kind of guy, you're a throwback. You'll kind of fight anyone, anytime. I mean, if it's late notice, whatever it is, you're ready to rumble. Am I right?
yeah. I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing, for a lot of my career, that's kind of what it was. It was like, you know what, man, like I'll fight this guy. I feel that I have the skill set to beat him, even when it wasn't always the most favorable matchups. Like there's I've fought guys like AJ McKee, who, he's a world champion.
Yeah.
He's got a questionable loss on his record. He's undefeated to me. He's I've fought the what do they say, the cream of the crop,
Yeah. Yeah.
guys that are in the UFC, guys that have outstanding records. But yeah, man, I mean, that kind of was me, and I kind of try to slow that down because it obviously was damaging my career a little bit, as far as the money I could make or the doors it could open. But sometimes, man, it's just hard to not be that guy sometimes. Like, an
Yeah.
opportunity presents itself and you're just kind of like, I could beat this guy, and
Yeah.
it's the fight game, shit happens, but it's all a part of the journey, man. I appreciate all of it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we freaking love Murder Marks, and we support you, and we love working with your team, and we're gonna get into that, man, because it really has been an absolute pleasure working with you and your team. But I wanted to ask you right now. You're active mostly in combate. Is that where you're fighting for the most part?
Well, no.
Okay.
This last fight was a one-off fight. I already had 4 fights prior to this last one with Combate. Before, when they were Combate Americas and they
Hmm.
became Combate Global. This last one was just an opportunity. We were informed of it 10 days before the fight. I was actually at a soccer game with my son. My kid loves soccer. If anyone follows my Instagram, like that's what he
Nice,
does.
nice, nice.
So we're actually at a soccer game, and I get the email, and it was like 10 days. It took a day or two for their team to get back to us, but yeah, I mean that was just a one-off. Again, I had 4 prior fights with them. I mean, I think it's safe to say that for the remaining fights that I have, I think they're going to be with Up Next Fighting with UNF,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is obviously locally based promotion. They're doing big things. They're on their, no, I believe November 19th will be their 4th show. So they're moving pretty fast, putting on some good productions.
Yeah, yeah. Shout
Um,
out to them. I know Chad George over there,
yeah,
Basmajian.
yeah.
The usual suspects, the guys who've kind of been doing the MMA thing out here for the longest. As far as MMA goes, if you ask me. So
Yeah, definitely. OGs, man, staples of Southern California mixed martial arts. Obviously, Chad George is a good friend of mine, my coach. We've
yeah,
known each other for a long time. And George Basmajian, he's if you're in MMA or if you're in the fight scene, you know the name.
yeah.
The guy's been involved with boxing and MMA for, man, probably like 20 years now, if not more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Marco, I kind of wanted to, you mentioned playing soccer as a kid, playing baseball. I kind of wanted to take it back, and you mentioned getting a lot of fist fights growing up. I mean, was that the case? Were you kind of in a tough area, or were you like a tough kid? You just like to get into fights. I mean, what was there something that triggered your desire to become a fighter?
I definitely wasn't the toughest kid. I mean, I was a small kid growing up. Thinking back on it, I feel like I was always like on the smaller end of my group of friends or my grade. Um, I grew up the first part of my life in South Central LA, which anybody that knows LA, it's not all rainbows and roses.
Not the best, yeah, not the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, I kind of had to. It was either, you know, altercations at school or on your way home from school. You just kind of had to, it's like you had to just ball up your fists and throw them sometimes. I mean, it wasn't always pretty, but
Yeah, yeah.
you had to do it. And then at 15, I moved out to Van Nuys with my mom. Again, heart of the valley, one of those neighborhoods is kind of rough around the edges, but yeah, man. I mean, I think just regular stuff like you know, someone runs their mouth and you run it back, and next thing you know, you're throwing punches. But
And
yeah,
they
I mean,
they run their mouth, you run it back, and then you guys are
yeah,
running it.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't a troublemaker. I wasn't a bad kid. You know, uh, I just wasn't no bitch. Like
Right,
I'll take my lickings. So
right,
yeah, I
right.
mean that kind of was it. Just being a Hispanic kid in LA. I mean, I think a lot of the guys that grew up in LA that are in the fight game kind of had the same upbringing.
Yeah.
I came from a household with 2 immigrant parents, hardworking parents. So it's like I don't know, it's kind of that mentality. You just kind of gotta fight for your day to day.
No, no, I totally get it. As a as a Miami boy growing up myself, I totally get it, and I respect that. And I've seen the tremendous talent that we have here in Los Angeles and in Southern California and all of California because of those circumstances. Now you mentioned baseball, soccer. I mean, how did that kind of, if at all? I mean, I think it would, but how did it help you in your fight career? Those sports that you played growing up.
Um, I was always I wasn't always the most athletic, but I've always, to this day, I love sports. I grew up, obviously asking my parents, hey, can I play soccer? Can I play baseball? I played basketball. I played everything, man. Wasn't always the best. Um, Not always the most talented at certain sports, but just like fighting, man. Like I just, again, I'm not the most talented fighter even now. Like I'll tell you, I'm not the best at anything, but um, I work hard. I
Yeah.
when the time comes to put in the work, I bust my ass, and that's something that has just been with me since I was a kid. Um, so yeah, translated over into fighting. Just kind of like, hey, you got a lot of ground to make up. There's these kids that are just kind of born with athletic talent. I got to work twice as hard because I'm Salvadorian. I'm built for comfort, not speed.
And you mentioned kids, I'm sure you're gonna pass on that
He's
hard
over
work
here.
to young Morrison. I see him in the background walking around.
Come here, Papa.
Ah. So
Yeah,
you
he's in.
mentioned immigrant parents. Again,
Hmm.
another thing I can relate to for sure. You mentioned El Salvador.
Hmm.
You say built for comfort, built for speed. I know you kind of not for speed. I know you kind of say that tongue in cheek. This is a point I wanted to make, right? I first, I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to ask you a question, which is, how do you feel about representing for El Salvador? But what I wanted to say first, kind of give you something to think about as you answer that question, is I do believe Mexico at this time probably is, the strongest Latin American country as far as combat sports goes all around. But I'm a baseball dad. My son plays baseball, and I got a lot of Salvadoran friends and Central American friends, and I tell them, I think right behind Mexico soon you're going to be hearing about these Salvadoran athletes, these Salvadoran fighters. It's what I'm seeing at Fighters Rep. It's what I'm seeing definitely here in California. Kind of give me your thoughts on that and how it feels to represent for El Salvador.
Um, yeah, I mean, definitely, I agree with you 100%. Mexico's obviously leading the way. They've got a lot of obviously, great boxers, a great history of boxers. But now, MMA being such a newer sport, and then obviously, the Latin culture getting into Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely leading the way. I mean, obviously, all the names that are up there, in the UFC, like, the Brandon Morenos, um, man, the Brian Ortegas, like all these guys, but definitely I feel like we've got a lot of ground to make up, but we're letting the world know that we're out here. I mean, I feel like we had a few guys in MMA that a lot of people don't know were Salvadoran or of Central American heritage. I mean, Ivan, Menjivar,
Mm-hmm.
UFC
Mm-hmm.
veteran.
Yeah.
He's up in Canada. He's like the first to actually do it. Never really represented because people never really knew about it. Um, and you have a lot of other guys. I mean, I can go on and on about it, but for me, it means a lot, man. Because although I do have Salvadorian citizenship, my mom took me to El Salvador when, man, I was just, I think, like a month or two old. Um, and I lived out there for a little while, so my grandfather got me citizenship. And for me, representing El Salvador and my parents and my heritage, it means the world because it's not only, just a flag or, just to be different. It really, for me, it's just letting the world know because we have such a bad rap. I mean, everybody knows you hear El Salvador, everybody wants to talk about the gangs and all the
Yeah.
negative stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's like, let's put a positive light on our people and the flag. And again, I may not be the best fighter in the world. I may have not made it to the UFC, but someone can look at it and say, hey, man, there's this Salvadorian kid from LA that's doing something. I would have never thought that my family in El Salvador could watch my fights or my interviews on Telemundo or Univision
Amazing.
or whatever. So
Yeah.
for me, it's everything, dude. It's me representing my parents' struggles. That whole crossing the border, coming over here illegally, doing things the right way, and man, and to a certain extent, achieving the American dream. Being able to to work hard and provide for your family. And, I mean, I could be a lot worse. I could be, my siblings and I could be off a lot worse, but, they did a good job. So for me, every time I go in there and I carry that flag, it's 100% pride, and it's for them, really. It's like, it's my homage to them. It's my thank you. I'm here because of you, because of your struggles. So yeah, man. Yeah.
I love that, man. I feel like me and you kind of have the same mentality when it comes to that. That you want to make your parents proud. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You want to see this?
Where is he at?
You want
Where
to
is
see
he
this?
at?
Get down, dude.
What's he doing?
He moved the dinner table bench to get to whatever it is that he wants. Let me
Oh
grab him.
my
Give me one
goodness.
second, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No problem.
What are
No
you
problem.
doing? What are you doing?
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with obviously with Marco Murder Marks Bonilla, professional fighter, has competed for Combate. He's competed for now UNF, one of the better MMA fighters in the region, and a coach that we also work with, and we love working with him. And there he is on screen with his son
All right.
Morrison.
We're gonna make him mobile so he doesn't lose his shit.
Got you, got you,
I know
got
what he
you.
wants. But yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, um, that's my reason. That's kind of my why, And obviously now, like, I'm a father, so it's to set an example for my kid. Like, you be proud of your heritage. He's half Mexican and he's half Salvadorian, so you know, um, he has that warrior's bloodline in him for sure.
Would you want him to be a fighter if he if that's what he wanted to do?
I knew that question was coming. Uh, ideally, obviously, I want him to go to school and do it, dude. Oh my God.
Oh
What do
man.
you want? All right, grab whatever it is that you want. All right, go ahead. So I mean, for me, ideally, I want my kid to, go to school. Like, hey, let's chill on the CTE. Let's
Yeah.
let's not get any punches to the head. But you know what, man? If ultimately if that's what he wants to do, then it's a conversation that we would have, and I would, we would support our kids' dreams.
Yeah.
If he wanted to be, I don't know, man, a ballerina, a janitor, we're gonna sit down and be like, hey, well, you go out there and you be the best fucking ballerina that you can be, So,
Right, right.
so
Oh,
whatever, man. I mean, if he wants to do it, then he has my support.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Small part of a small part of me is like, yeah. The dad in me is like, oh man, let's get an education. Let's play some. Let's make some money. Let's play some baseball, some
yeah,
soccer.
yeah, yeah. I love baseball, man. I got my kid in baseball, and and soccer, to be honest with you, and it's been amazing. The other thing I wanted to ask you, obviously we've been working together a lot as far as Fighters Rep goes. I mean, your team, Matador Training. Tell me a little bit about it, man. I mean, are you the owner? Are you the co-owner? Are you you're the head coach here? Tell me a little bit about Matador, because it's been awesome working with you. I mean, we've been working together, I want to say, at least for 4 or 5 shows now.
Yeah, yeah. It's been quite a few. I feel like we're on every show for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, well, Matador training for me. I never really thought that right off the bat that I was going to start working with fighters. I did dabble in the gym ownership for a very small time, and it didn't. Let's just say it just didn't work out. Too many chiefs in the village type thing. So my thing was like, you know what? I don't want any partners. I don't want anybody else involved.
Yeah.
I just want to keep it simple. I want to keep it simple. Obviously, if anyone's out there aspiring to open up a gym, you may think it's easy, but it's not. It's a lot of back end work. It's a lot of, dealing with personalities and stuff like that. But for me, when I started Matador training, it was really me just starting my own private training business, just to work one-on-ones and privates with whoever wanted to train. And that's what it is to this day for the most part, and some guys will reach out to me and say, hey man, I want to fight. And some of those guys you've seen on the show,
Yeah.
it's guys that I vibe with, guys that I kind of take under my wing. I see something in them. But as far as, committing myself to being a full-time coach to fighters, I'm not quite there yet because obviously I'm still an active fighter. I'm a business owner, amongst, all the other things we do as far as like the fighter management, with Upgrade Marketing Group and all that. Um, but yeah, Matador training in Burbank, California. I have my space inside a Tough Coaching Team. So that's how that came about. When my relationship ended with the gym that I owned for a small period of time, I needed a place to go. So a friend of mine had their private training facility. So I went in there, I spoke to her, and I said, hey, like I have a couple clients, let's work something out. So we did that for about a year. And then when we moved into the new space, it was more of like, okay, well, let's step it up a bit. Like, let's have this agreement where we split the space. I have space, with my mats and the bags and all that. And, it made it a little more legitimate. So yeah, man, it really just started and still is a more of a private training facility. Just some of these guys, man, they just they 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 got their fangs into me, and I'm like, all right, man, you want to fight? Let's make it work.
I love it, man. I love it. And you guys, you guys are a hell of a team. I mean, in the Lions, then, we don't sugarcoat it. We don't manufacture people. I mean, every fight's a tough fight. I like to think at FightersRep, and your guys do well, man. I mean, in every fight, if they don't win, then they let you know that they were there. If they don't win, you know what I mean. So, kind of tell me how the experience has been doing kickboxing. I know you're more, in MMA, but you're also obviously a fan of Muay Thai, boxing, and everything else. How has it been, this journey as a coach through kickboxing, through FightersRep kickboxing?
I mean, it's cool, like obviously I fight MMA. I've yet to fight professional Muay Thai or kickboxing. Notice I said yet, so maybe it's in the cards, man.
Yeah,
Before I hang
yeah.
them up. Um, but yeah, man, it's been awesome. I mean, as an MMA fighter, I mean, people like to label you as, you're a wrestler, you're a grappler, and I took on the, he's a kickboxer, he's a striker, um, label. So it's cool, man. It's mostly what I teach, it's very hard to then go back in there with clients and start working on grappling and jiu-jitsu and wrestling after you do it yourself with your team. You're just kind of like, man, like everything hurts. Like, I can do some pads, I can give you some instruction. But it's a lot of fun. It's definitely got smacked. It's
Oh my
he put
goodness.
his gloves. He put the mitts on. He doesn't know where his gloves are, so he put the mitts on.
Oh my
The
goodness.
oven mitts.
Whatever works. He's got it in the
Yeah,
blood, man. Whatever
yeah.
works.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, man. I really enjoy it. Like I said, it's always kind of been kind of my specialty is kickboxing,
Mhm.
in MMA. So it's a really fun experience to be able to share my knowledge with these guys. I've had some great coaches along the way, some good ones, some bad ones, but I've taken the positives from every one of them and made it my own. Now I get to pass that along to these guys. So it's really cool, man, to see the progression. Like Melvin, one of your favorites.
I
This kid
love
came
that
into
kid, man.
he DM'd me and was like, "Hey, man, I want to fight someday, and and I think you can help me." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. What kind of experience you have?" He's like, "Nothing." So he walked into the gym fresh. When I asked him what kind of training he had, he's like, "Well, I've got four brothers, so we just put on gloves at home and we go at it." He's that kid. He's that guy from
Yeah.
Lincoln Heights.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to see like Melvin's progression from the time we started to stepping in the ring and winning and going through the emotions of not winning, it's cool, man. Like I love it, and I can't wait to be able to dedicate more of my time to it. It's something that I look forward to post retirement.
Yeah, yeah. And you've got a couple guys, obviously FightersRep 16 is coming December 3rd. You've got a couple guys on the show. Tell me about these guys, what should we expect? I mean, we've seen one of them. He won. Well, Shant hasn't fought for us before, has he? Okay, Winland and that's right. We have three of your guys on this.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my, I forgot Acosta's on this one. So,
yeah.
so we've got Acosta, Winland, and Shant. Shant we've never seen before. Winland and Acosta I've seen. Winland's coming off of a win Acosta's coming off of a really good fight. It was a close loss. What can we expect from these guys, especially Shant? I haven't seen Shant.
Well, I'll tell you, Sean is, he's been training kind of on and off for about 2 years. And, he actually was kind of like, he was kind of inspired to want to fight after the last event, not the last one, but the one prior to that, where we had Isaiah won, Johnny won, and Will had that banger. He's like, man, I think I can do this. I said, well, be a little more consistent. I know he can do it because we've sparred. We have our sparring days, and I would always tell him, like, man, like, you hit hard, dude. Like you hit hard. I felt it, and I see him move around with some of the other guys,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it took, man. It took him going to a FightersRep event, saw his teammates and his friends fight, and it kind of lit a fire under his ass. Sean doesn't need to do this. He has zero aspirations of being. I mean, I don't know. He doesn't talk about being a pro and then making it to glory or anything like that.
Yeah.
Sean is a businessman. He's very smart guy. He does very well in his day-to-day life. This is one of those things where it's for him. It's like, you know what? Let me go out there and test myself. Let me test my skills. Let's see what I'm built, what I'm made of.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, he's a tough guy. I'll tell you, man. I've seen him. I've hit him with some shit, and he's like a Terminator. He's just walked through it. I've seen him spar some of the other guys, and I'm just like, damn, dude, like he can do some damage if you really let go. So I mean, he's working hard, man. Honestly, I'll say that Sean's putting in the work. Out of all the guys, not to take anything away from any of my guys, anyone that has fought, but this guy's taking it to the next level. Like, he's showing up early. He's doing 2-a-days. He's running sprints. Like, he's taking it very, very seriously. So let's hope his opponent is too, because Sean's gonna bring that heat, man.
I love it. I love it. And then Winland, he's coming off of a win in his last fight with us, and you told me man, when he found out Shant was going to get on the card, he wanted to get on. And then Acosta, of course, I mean, Acosta's like Melvin, man. He just, every time is a banger, man. I mean, the guy just doesn't know how to be in a boring fight. What can we expect from those two?
Man, well, yeah, with Johnny, with Winland, he saw that Shant was fighting, and he wanted to get on there too. These dudes grew up together, Glendale boys. So we're trying to match him up. We couldn't find a matchup, and then he just kind of stayed grinding. And then I said, hey, man, George has an opponent for you. He said, let's run it. I said, and he likes, Johnny really likes challenging himself, because I even said, hey, man, do you want to try and maybe do a catch weight, because it's a little bit shorter notice? He's like, nah, 170, let's do it. So
I love
I
it.
love that. I love that about Johnny. And Will, man, Will the Thrill Acosta, dude. This guy's a fucking zombie. A fucking zombie, dude. If you were, I mean, any other coaches and cornermen, I think, could understand that at one point in his last fight, he went literally zombie mode, because there was zero comprehension of what we were telling him.
Yeah.
So, my guy Whiskey and I looked at each other, and we just said, fuck it. He's going to do what he's going to do. I'm like, hey, man, chin down, brother. Chin down. Like, that's all I could say, because
my God,
any part of the game plan went out the window. He got sucked into the brawl, and it was very entertaining for everyone there. I think everybody was just like, Jesus Christ, like, these guys were going at it. And Will was eating some shots, and he was just walking through them.
Yeah.
And as a coach, you don't want to see that. You're just like, dude, what the fuck? Move your head.
Yeah.
Put your hands up. But he is definitely a crowd pleaser, man. So yeah, man, expect that from Will. Will always brings a fight. He's got that crazy paisa Mexican heart, bro. Like that guy will go out on his shield if he has to.
He certainly will. I mean, every time I've seen him, it's just been such an amazing thing. And you know what? This is a weird kind of aside, but that shark tattoo, I think it's a big shark he's got on his chest or something like that. I mean, that's like the perfect tattoo for a guy like Will. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Did Morrison
No.
throw the lollipop in between the couch or something?
No. He was eating banana. That's what it was. I was like, what is in his mouth? He grabbed a banana.
It's
Scared
all
me.
good. It's all good.
You're
It's
all
all
good, dude.
good.
Anyway, yeah, no, yeah, he's got the big ass shark tattoo. Um, Will, man, just Will's a character, dude. You guys can't see it under the headgear, but I tell him his mullet's got powers. That guy's mullet's got powers, man.
So
It,
three.
it absorbs the damage. I think the mullet takes all the pain. He
There,
doesn't feel
there.
shit.
No.
You know.
He's these guys are a lot of fun to watch. So Marco, three guys on the card.
Yes, sir.
We've been working together a while. I wanted to say I need to put this out there, right? Absolutely a pleasure to work with you and your team, man. Just so easy to work with you. It's not everybody is that easy to work with, so I really appreciate it. And you guys always come to fight. You guys are professional. I don't have a hard time. I really enjoy working with you guys, and that's a credit to you as a coach. You keep these guys in line.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so I had to shout you out there. And I had to ask,
Thank you.
are there some young guys coming up through the ranks at Matador training that we could look forward to? I mean, are you brewing some more tough guys for me over there or what?
I mean, like I said, it's a very small group. We don't have a big team. We don't have classes all throughout the day. Everything's very specific for the guys. There's a time of the day where I get the guys together, and like I said, it's a small group. I can count on both hands how many guys train to fight. Maybe even one right now.
Yeah.
But there's always someone, man, that will reach out to me that has a little bit of experience or maybe wants to do it. That if the vibe is right and I feel like they're really about it, then I'll take them on. I tell these guys, I get it that this may not be your career choice, but this shit ain't a game, man. Like every time you step in there, you are risking your life. I know there's headgear and all that stuff, but you just never know, man. It's a fight game, so you guys got to take this shit seriously. And in the same token, I'm like, take it seriously for those that are doing it professionally, those that really are putting in the work. This isn't for clout. This isn't for social media glorification. It's cool to say that you're a fighter. I get it. I'm there. I've been there. Like we all, as fighters, we like a little bit of the attention, but you gotta take it seriously, man. Like it's not a game.
Yeah. Well, Marcos, I gotta ask you too, man. I mean, you mentioned you haven't fought kickboxing yet. We do pro-am events, and after December 3rd, which is going to be just an amateur event, we're aiming for February 18, and we're going to start doing pro-ams likely every other month. I mean, is there any interest in El Matador getting in there in the Lions Den, or what?
It's something that I definitely want to do. It's something that I have discussed with Crew Rod, who's my striking coach. I mean, it's a possibility. I obviously, MMA is my bread and butter, but I mean, I never say never, man. I definitely want to do it, and if and when it does happen, I'm very confident that it's going to be for FightersRep. So, yeah, man, it's out there. We're putting it out to the
I
universe now,
love it, man. Yeah.
You know?
I would love to have you on there. I know, like you said, and I know it as well. You're very much a striker. You're very your specialty in MMA is kickboxing, and I think you do a fantastic job and put on a fantastic show in the Lions Den. I wanted to ask you, Marco. So far in your career, what has been the highlight of your career? I mean, what are some of the memory or some of the memories that have made it all worth it to you as somebody who's kind of sacrificed everything to become a fighter?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a few that come to mind. I mean, definitely this little crybaby over here with me. Which one do you want to get? Get this here. Yeah, let's get a yogurt. Let's get a yogurt. You want a yogurt? All right. All right.
We'll get it done soon. Don't worry,
Yeah,
Morrison.
no,
We'll get it done soon.
it's okay. It's okay. Here. I think definitely the highlight was probably my last win, which was for UNF. I was coming off of a bit of a skid. Um, and I just it was just a lot. It was a lot of work going into that fight. Being a father, and then obviously, trying to work to pay the bills and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
One second.
No problem. No problem. And guys, while he's busy taking care of Morrison there, I'm going to ask that you all subscribe, like, comment, share, and join the channel. By joining the channel, you get to watch Fighters Rep 16 live. It's the only way to watch it unless you buy tickets, so be sure to do that. And, we'll hopefully see you there on December 3rd.
Sorry,
No,
sorry
no,
about
no
that,
problem,
guys.
man. I totally get
All,
it.
all, all, all a part of being a dad. No, I mean, definitely. I think my last win was the most important one for me because I was able to, my son was there. He was able to see his dad fight. He wasn't even 2 yet, but I think that he, from an early age, he's had an understanding of what it is that I do because he is growing up in the gym. He's with me a lot. We go to the gym. He puts on his gloves and he likes to hit the bag and all that stuff. So he knew. I think he knew what was going on. So having him in the cage with me, post fight, just meant the world to me because, you know, not gonna be young forever. One day I'll be old in a rocking chair and he'll be able to look at the pictures, look at the videos, and be like, "Damn, dude, like that was my dad." My dad was kind of a badass at one point.
Yeah, yeah.
So that one's cool, man. I mean, another one that comes to mind is my first two fights with combates, having my parents there. Those were both in LA. So like walking out of the cage and having my dad greet me with with the flag over his shoulders. That's something that I'll never forget. I have a picture of that. My mom with with like my walkout shirt and like a flag like that. That's huge. Um, I think the general consensus is the memories that I have with my family. Those are the most important ones. I mean, you know, people would probably think that I'd say when I fought in Bellator. Nah, it's definitely the ones where I've been able to share with my family.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those are the highlights of my career so far.
And what's your next goal in the fight game? I mean, something you would like to do, something you would like to achieve before the end of your career.
Um, I've never. I'm at a bit of I'm at a point in my career. Well, I'm 37, so you start to, although I feel that I can still compete because I'm in the room with some of the best guys in the world every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, the John Pauls, the Victor Henrys. Like I'm training with these. Bruno. I forget
Susan.
Like Bruno, yeah, Bruno Souza and Weber Almeida. Like I'm in the room with some of the best guys in the world every day, and I feel that I can compete with them. But the reality of it is that your body starts to break down, and you start to feel it over time. So every training camp becomes a little bit harder, and although the fight isn't always the hardest, um, the lead up to it, it's kind of a kick in the ass. So my goal from here, for however long my career goes, is just to make it to the fight and give the best performances that I can. Whether it be one more, two, three, I'm not really sure, but I kind of I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and yeah, man. I mean, that's really just the goal, is just to finish off, finish with some wins, some great performance, some memorable performances, and something that I can be happy with. That when that time comes and I say, okay, cool, I'm done, I'm ready for the next chapter of my life, I can say, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
it's done. I did it my way. I did it the way that I was, to the best of my ability, and and we move on. We'll still be in the fight game, just won't be wrapping up.
In the corner, you'll be wrapping up hands instead
Yeah,
of
yeah.
wrapping your own. You know what I mean? I wanted to ask you one more thing, Marco. I appreciate your time, Marcos, but I wanted to ask you one more thing. If you could give advice to one of these young men or women that want to get into fighting, I mean, haven't been in this thing for a while now, what would your advice be to them?
Um, same thing I tell my guys is, well, same thing I'll tell anybody. Any of the young guys that I train with, any of the guys that I train, is you just have to, man, you just have to really you have to make a lot of sacrifices for this, you have to work hard. There's no cutting corners. I've found out the hard way what cutting corners gets you, you try to take shortcuts in this game. Um, yeah, I mean, you just put in the work, at the end of the day, you can fool people on social media, you can fool your friends, you can fool your teammates, but at the end of the day, you got to look at yourself in the mirror, and only you can answer if you really put in the work that was necessary to get to where you want to be. So I mean, the only piece of advice I can give an up and coming fighter, someone that wants to do it, is give it your all, man. Don't bullshit, don't cut corners, and just be prepared to make sacrifices. MMA is a very selfish sport, and MMA or fighting in general, kickboxing, whatever, if you really want to take it to another level, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. Very selfish sport. It can be a very lonely sport. So just be prepared for that. But number one piece of advice is, just work hard. Don't cut corners. And that's really it.
Excellent advice from a veteran of the fight game, Marcos. Thank you so much for your time. Before we let you go, though, guys, be sure to follow Marcos and Matador Bonilla on Instagram at Murder Marks with an X at the end. Subscribe to the channel. Get your tickets to Fighters Rep to come watch Marcos' Fighters Throwdown at Fighters Rep 16. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And, before we let you go, Marcos, is there anyone you want to shout out? Anyone you want to thank? The floor is yours.
I want to thank you for having me on the show, and obviously for creating a community, a platform for these guys to build and test their skills. That's something that's very important. And then obviously, not only did you create a platform from these guys, it's a hell of a production too, man. I mean,
Thank you.
I won't say any names. I'm not gonna badmouth anyone, but we've all been to some of those shows, and you're just kind of like, Jesus Christ, like someone holding up a flashlight on the ring. Um, no, but really, just thank you. Shout out to all my guys that are fighting on December 3rd. Obviously, Sean Ranjabar, Johnny Winland, and Will the Thrill Acosta. It's the fight game. We can't guarantee a victory, but I will guarantee you these guys are going to put on a hell of a show. So make sure you guys get your tickets. December 3rd, Commerce Casino. Be there, be square.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
your time, Marcos. We look forward to seeing you there on December 3rd. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcos El Matador Bonilla. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time,
Thank you
brother.
guys. Appreciate
Have
you,
a good
brother.
one,
Have
man.
a great
Thank you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you.